Hello, 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 everyone. It is Tuesday, 7 o'clock, and guess what time it is? It's time for the My Spa Bath and Body Show, where we talk about all things natural concerning your mind, your body, and your soul. If you know me, you know that my company is My Spa Bath and Body Products, all natural, luxurious skincare at an affordable price, where you can purchase it at www.myspa.etsy.com. So if you take a look, you see we're doing something a little different today. We are all like zened up, all natural, because our guest here is Yassah James.
Hello.
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 And she is a yoga practitioner, and we are going to be doing yoga this evening. But we're just going to talk about some things going on. Again, we're here in the Vox Wave Studios, located off of Branch Avenue, where we continue to have our coat drive up until February 25th. So even though it's a little warm outside, if you have any kind of outerwear clothing you want to donate, please bring it by 4711 Out Place in Suitland, Maryland. Well, again, we want to welcome you, Yassah.
Thank you for having me, Margaret. I'm happy to be here.
I am so happy to have you. I attended your class, my first in-person yoga class, and girl, you worked it out. But you know what? Even though I'm a little older, I was not as sore as I thought I was going to be.
Right? You felt some of those muscles working
I
out,
felt the
stretching.
muscles working, but I didn't feel any pain. So I thought you'd be the perfect guest to come and just talk to everybody about how to just stay flexible and just all about yoga, because yoga is more than just bending and moving. It's called a practice, and it has so many things that are involved in even doing it. So tell me about the whole yoga experience and how we should prepare ourselves mentally even to practice.
Now, the class you came to is I teach with Kepler Wellness is our trap yoga class. So that's a little more power forward. We move a little faster. We get hot. We practice our inversions. We sweat. We move. And I try to do that in all of my classes. But what I try to put into my classes, and even with the trap yoga, is a sense of meditation and a link with the breath between the body and the mind, which is a key part of yoga. You really want to use your breath to really control the body and to really loosen up certain muscles. Oftentimes, we hold a lot of tension and stress in our hips and in our shoulders and in our back. And a lot of that has a lot to do with breathing and just learning to relax those muscles. And even without the physical practice of moving and practicing and kicking your leg back behind your head and kicking up in a handstand, you can still practice that body awareness and that consciousness. That'll bring you some relaxation and bring you some less stress and more grounding and more connection to your body and what's going on around you. So we'll practice some of those moves a little later.
Okay, so tell me about like the spiritual part. So first, you have to kind of center yourself and then start with your breathing and all of that.
Now, what you like to start with every practice is just breathing, just a simple meditation. And that's going to mean something different for everyone. Meditation isn't necessarily going to be sitting on a rock, full lotus with your hands up, finding Zen. Meditation can be laying down. Meditation can be finding a comfortable seat on the couch. Anywhere where you can find yourself relaxed and not clenching onto anything, and you can find a place to send the breath throughout the entire body, where you can allow thoughts to come in, but on your exhales, allow them to go out. And that's meditation. A lot of people think it's emptying your mind or clearing your mind completely, and that's really not the point of meditation. What you really want to do is control, not necessarily control, but find the flow of those thoughts. Be aware and be compassionate and allow those thoughts to come in, but don't allow those thoughts to control your thinking. Don't allow them to control your judgment or how you treat other people. Just allow them to come and allow them to pass with your breath, and that's what we try to find in meditation. Starting yoga. So I definitely recommend starting at each class with at least 1 to 2 minutes of just a silent meditation, finding your grounding, sitting, breathing, just finding where you feel stress in the body, finding where you feel tension, and focusing your breath in those movements when we get into the movement part of yoga, into the asanas or the physical practice.
Okay, so I'm sitting here, with my legs crossed. So what's a good way So am I in a position to at least start breathing correctly?
Yeah, you could be in a position with your legs out if you wanted to.
Okay, well, I'm pretzeled up now, so.
Well, we're already pretzeled up.
Yes.
So let's just do I can do a 30-second guide to just lead you, simply if you're at home, if you're in the office, lead you into a simple meditation.
Okay.
You can find a comfortable seat.
Okay.
Find yourself rolling your shoulders back, finding the spine sitting over the hips.
Okay.
If you feel yourself clenching on to any of your inner or outer hips, see if you can let that go with an exhale. Not allowing yourself to curl inwards, finding an open chest, grounding down in your hips, breathing deeply. You don't have to necessarily close your eyes here. You can find a lowered gaze. Find a comfortable place for your hands, whether it's in the center of your lap, on the sides, or even spread a little wider. Start to relax through the eyelids, relax through your jaw, relax through the lips, find a space between your teeth. And allow yourself to start taking slow inhales and exhales out of the nose. In yoga, we call this our Ujjayi breath, our breath of victory. It's a heating breath. Slow inhales and exhales out of the nose. Even finding a count is very helpful here. It helps you to get lost in your breath, lost in your meditation. Inhaling to a count of 3, exhaling to a count of 3. And just finding those slow breaths, inhaling and exhaling. And stay here. Oftentimes we find our mind wandering or us getting tense about 30 seconds or a minute into our meditation. And those are the most important places you should be breathing through. If you find yourself wanting to give up, just give it 5 more breaths. And 5 more breaths. And that's just a simple way to relax. And you can do that anywhere, in your office. My meditation style is first thing in the morning. As I find myself prolonging it, I try to tell myself, I need to meditate daily. Before I even roll out of bed, I just put my back against the wall. And I spend 2 or 3 minutes before I answer my phone, before I get in the shower, before I deal with my dog. I take about 2 or 3 minutes for myself, and I just put my back against the wall. And anything I'm stressed about for that day, I just breathe it out. And I choose not to be stressed out over it. I choose to be compassionate with myself. I choose not to beat myself up for things I didn't do the day before, things I could have done better. You know, compassion is one of the biggest parts to yoga, I would say.
Really?
Yeah. Being compassionate with your body and yourself.
Okay, and a lot of people are so hard on themselves. You know, when we don't even think about the ways that we beat ourselves up when we fall short or when things don't work out the way that we think, or in our interactions with people, we can only really be responsible for the energy that we provide to that and not assume the energy of others. Would you say that's kind of a way to think as well?
I would say that's very true, and that comes across in physical practices. When people work out at the gym, they see the person next to them doing a full plank or a handstand, and they want to push themselves to do the same thing, when in fact that's not doing your body any justice, and that's not helping your practice or your physical or mental growth. You should really listen to your body and listen what your body needs that day. And yes, push yourself, but don't push yourself to the point where you're hurting yourself or where you're taking yourself out of the workout and it's not even yoga anymore. If you're not breathing, it's not yoga. Or if you're not really putting your full intention into the pose, it's not yoga. So a lot of times people do get distracted, keeping up with other people in classes, and that translates into life as well, I feel like, in the workplace, socially, family, friends, all of that. So it's important to kind of practice that with yourself on your mat, whether it's yoga or whether it's a different discipline, practicing compassion and not comparing yourself on or off the mat, you know.
Yeah, I know that when I was taking your class, I guess it was the first one I'd ever taken, you know, live, and I felt I pushed myself, but not to the point of comparing myself to others. Yeah. I just did what I could do and stretched myself somewhat, but then knowing that now I have a starting point from which to grow.
You know where you are.
You know, as far as with flexibility, and like you said, even finding that peace. Yeah. And as far as, like I say, I can talk about skincare all day long, but if people are holding their jaw, they're clenching it, and they're just not, you know, they're frowning, and they just aren't at peace with themselves. You know, I can rub all the shea butter on you that I have, but to the extent that you're still frowned up and you're not at peace, it's not going to do you any good. So, you know, we just really have to take care of ourselves in any form or fashion that makes you comfortable. With yoga, if it's aerobics or anything that helps you to just flex and move.
And it's
your
a
body.
holistic style. It's not necessarily just your body. I have plenty of people that I know that work out. They don't see any changes. It comes from body, mind, and diet. If I'm working out and eating healthy, but I'm stressed out and I'm running around and I'm not getting sleep, I'm not going to lose weight. If I'm not stressed out and I'm totally healthy, but I'm eating crap and I'm still working out, I'm not going to lose weight. It's a blend of all three. And I think inward health comes first. For me, a lot of people see me, I'm slender. I'm probably about 110 pounds soaking wet, as a lot of my friends like to say. But I lost about 60 pounds doing yoga.
Wow, I can't even see you carrying that much weight on you.
And it wasn't necessarily, yoga is a workout, and I was stretching, and I was working, I was sweating and working out. But at the same time, my diet changed. How I treated myself changed. You know, how I acted, like even cleaning up your house more, or being nicer to your neighbors, or doing more for your family. Just things that bring you peace is going to relax you. And when I took that stress off of myself, of kind of trying to keep up with the Joneses, or just playing games that weren't necessary, I saw the change more so than when I did pushing myself in the gym.
Wow.
Because the change comes from inside.
Oh, okay.
Like as soon as you start changing yourself inwardly, that's when you'll see the most outward change. Yeah,
like I said, I've kind of given up red meat as a lifestyle. Like I said, if there's a rib, I may have it. But 95% of the time, I try to, avoid, the heavier meats. I've really been trying to concentrate on sleeping, because if you don't get enough sleep, your blood sugar is off, your ability to make it through the day is off, 100%. And you're stressed. So I really try to concentrate on sleep. Like I said, I did your yoga class because I really need to get flexible. And it's just, like you said, it's a whole life change. Giving up any type of interactions that cause you stress, and your interpersonal relationships.
That are detrimental to your life.
That are,
destructive.
Or, it's not necessarily bad, but just you're in a different place from, say, some friends, family, not so much that you're better or worse, but that you need to bring in a different energy into your life to grow.
100%.
Okay, so you studied in India. We'll talk about that right quick, and then we'll take a break.
So I watched Eat, Pray, Love about 12 times. And I decided I wanted to go to India. Before that, I went to Virginia, where they have a wonderful ashram, Yogaville. I recommend for anyone who has a chance to go visit it. Really well priced, all vegetarian diet, farm. I went there, met with some Swamis, and stayed there for about a week and decided I wanted to go to India to do my teacher training. I practiced for a couple years, and it really became a big part of my life, just reading and practicing and just meditation. And I took 6 weeks off, and I studied in Mysore, India, central India. Stayed there for about a month, backpacked down the coast of the Arabian Sea by Goa for about 2 weeks for New Year's. And it was an amazing experience. Definitely, the food was amazing, but it definitely hit my stomach. I've traveled to Africa a few times, so I thought I was ready, but Africa does not prepare you for India. Anyone who thinks that Africa prepares you for India, it does not.
Oh, wow.
But it was a beautiful, amazing experience. There's something just alive in that country, and just the energy there is beautiful. I mean, there is a toxic cloud over the country as well.
Over India,
but,
that's true.
But it's an amazing place, and I definitely want to go back for sure.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break, and you're going to set up on the mat, and we are going to learn and practice yoga. We'll be right back.
Awesome. Hello, welcome back to My Spa Bath Products with,
Margaret.
with Margaret. My name's Yassah, James again. I'll be practicing just a couple yoga moves that you can practice at home just after a long day, something to loosen up your shoulders and hips. It's where we hold most of our attention and our stress in our muscles and joints. So we'll get started in a comfortable cross-legged position. You don't have to sit like this. You can sit like this if it's more comfortable. You can sit like this if it's more comfortable, or like this. So just coming to a comfortable cross-legged position, sitting our sit bones on the ground. That means lifting up the flesh from under our sit bones, letting our bones make contact with the mat or with the ground. We'll breathe here and again, roll our shoulders back over our hips, finding a long spine. On our inhale, we're going to reach our arms up. And on our exhale, we bring our right hand behind us, coming onto our fingertips. The right hand is right behind the spine. The left hand's reaching high. And on your exhale, the left hand crosses over towards the right side, finding a twist here. Maybe walking that right arm back a little further, growing tall on your inhales from the bottom of your spine to the crown of your head, feeling a long spine. Exhale, twist us a little deeper. You should feel this through the right side hip, through the spine, slightly through the shoulders. Just a light stretch here. Inhale, take us back up. We just take that all on the opposite side. So this time our left hand comes behind us to plant behind the spine, coming onto the fingertips, growing tall on our inhale, reaching from the bottom of the spine through the crown of the head. Exhales, cross that right arm over the left thigh. Growing tall on our inhales, twisting deep on our exhales. Just find a light stretch through the hips here and through the spine. Inhale as we come back to center. And we just fold forward here, allowing the hands and the head to fall where they may on the ground. We find about 3 breaths here. And once you've done that, you can roll up. From here, we're going to roll forward, coming onto hands and knees. Here, our shoulders are going to be stacked over our wrists, and our hips are going to be stacked over our knees. Breathing here, so our tabletop position. We're going to ground down through all 10 fingertips, pressing back down through the mat. We find a couple cat-cow stretches. So we drop through our chest, and we lift our gaze, coming into our cow position. Exhale, press us down through the fingertips, doming through the head and the neck. We find our cat position. Taking this just a few times, just really loosens up the spine and the hips. You can even roll side to side here, finding a side body stretches. This is a really nice warm-up before any workout, actually. I usually start most of my classes with at least a minute or 2 cat-cow stretches.
Okay, Yassah, if anybody wants to call in with questions.
I would love for you guys to call in with questions. Feel free.
Okay, the number is 240-719-2560.
From here, this is our diamond pose. There it is. Now from here, we're going to stretch out the tops of the thighs. So you can remain here and sit on your heels. You could even bring something like a blanket or something like a towel or a block if you have one in between here. So you sit on that towel or on that blanket, and you could bring your feet wide as well if you're more comfortable here. And we just walk back on our next breath. And you'll feel this down the thighs, down the fronts of the legs. If you're a runner or someone who spends a lot of time on their feet, it's a great pose for you to do at home. Something for you guys to try. We'll come back to hands and knees. And we'll practice a few hip stretches here. Now we'll come into pigeon pose, which is one of my favorite hip stretches. You can take this from tabletop. You'd bring the left knee to the left wrist. You'd open up the left foot towards the right hand, walking the right leg back.
Now that's one that I do at home.
This is a great stretch. Our pigeon pose. You want to walk your hands back towards your hips. Open your chest, lifting up, finding a long spine here. Breathing. I like to stay in my proud pigeon is what they call this. Or you can always walk the hands forward over that leg. Now, this is a really intense hip opener. So if you feel like this is getting a little too much, you can always, again, put that towel, blanket, block, whatever you have under that lifted hip, just to give it something to rest on. And again, fold forward, just to give you a little more support. It's always an option.
And like I said, that's one of the poses that I do at home.
Pigeon pose from here. You could also bend the knees.
I don't do that part.
Coming back. Taking our mermaid. But yeah, and we would take that on the other side. So just come back to hands and knees. The right knee would come towards the right wrist. Right foot splays out towards the left hand. Walk that left leg back. Hands come back in line with the hips. Exhale, fold us forward. And again here, you can always bring that same blanket or towel or whatever you have at home. I usually use my sweatshirts when I'm stretching out at home, honestly. You don't need any fancy yoga props. You can use whatever you have. Fold forward. Now, I usually stay in these poses for about a minute on each side, honestly, because it usually takes me about 15 to 20 seconds just to release my muscles into the pose, and you really want to get the most that you can out of them. So holding in for about 5 or 10 seconds is good. I'd recommend, if you have the time, to hold the poses for about a minute or so. I usually lay out a mat or a blanket in my living room, whatever show I'm watching, kind of have it in the background. Before bed, it's really good to stretch out. If you have insomnia, stretches are amazing. They will help you sleep. They will relax your muscles. By the time you lay down, you won't have to toss and turn so much, and you'll rock straight to bed. I had a huge problem with insomnia, still kind of do, and whenever I do manage to get my stretches in before bed, I always sleep a lot better. So that's a tip for all my other night owls out there.
Involuntary or otherwise.
Involuntary or otherwise. Sometimes I just can't sleep, but if I take about 10 minutes to stretch, it does help you sleep. It's a cure-all. Also kombucha, but I won't promote that. So you can find yourself in a comfortable seat again. Now from here, I'll just take you through a simple chaturanga and just a simple sun salutation. We have sun salutation A and Bs. Anyone who's practiced Ashtanga will be familiar with that, as well as Yassah incorporates a lot of sun salutations in their practices as well. So again, we just come back to hands and knees, and then we walk one foot and the other foot up, and we come to a standing position. Once we're in a standing position in our mat, you can either bring your feet hips width distance, or you can bring your big toes to touch and separate the heels slightly. Hands come by our sides, core tucks in, shoulders are rolled back. And we're in our Tadasana, our mountain pose. Fun fact, military from around the world got their standing at attention pose from this yoga pose, Tadasana.
Oh, really?
Pose. Fun fact.
I didn't know that.
Inhaling, bringing the arms up. Exhale, we find a forward fold. We bend in the knees. You never want to lock out your knees fully, pushing them back.
Oh, wow.
That's going to put strain on your legs. So whenever you're coming into a forward fold, make sure you can move the knees a little bit. Not a full bend, but just a little micro bend in the knees when you fold forward.
Now that's interesting because I sometimes have a tendency to lock my knees.
It's not good. Always bring a little micro bend in the knees. You never want to fully lock the legs out.
Okay.
You do want to keep them fairly straight as you can, but you always want to have a little bit of wiggle room in the front of the knees.
Okay.
We're going to inhale into a halfway lift. That's going to mean bringing our hands to our shins. You could even bring them to your thighs. You want to have a slightly open chest in your halfway lift so you really feel the stretch through the hamstrings. Exhale, fold us forward, and we walk the feet back into a high plank position. High plank. A lot of people kind of butcher this pose. We're going to go over it really quick. We're going to stack our shoulders over our wrists. Our belly button's going to be tucked into the spine. If you're ever in high plank and you feel your hips dipping down like this, pick them way up.
Okay.
Because this is going to damage your spine. If you're ever in a high plank and feel yourself, oh, I want to be lazy, I'm going to go down, it's better to bring your knees down to the mat and get that shoulder engagement than to dip your hips, just to protect yourself. We always want to avoid injury. So we're in high plank. Fingertips are spread. We're pressing down through the mat. Fingertip engagement is key in yoga. The more you engage through every fingertip, the more that weight's going to be spread through the rest of your body rather than dumping it straight into your wrist. It is painful, but once you strengthen your hands, you'll be fine.
Okay, so using your fingers helps to disperse that, because I know my wrists.
It does. A lot of people have a lot of wrist tension in yoga, and a lot of that reason is behind they're not pressing into their fingers. I'd come over to the mat, and a lot of times I'll see people's hands like this, and they're in downward dog, and their hands are pretty lifted off the mat.
Yeah, that's me.
You're not really pressing down. You're dumping all that weight into your wrist. Now, if I palm this mat with all 5 fingers and then use that engagement of all 10 fingers, I don't feel any of that in my wrist, very little. So we're going to come back to high plank, and same in downward dog. You really want to engage through your fingertips. It's really going to help you kind of to get a sense of balance as well. Downward dog is our prep pose for handstand. Plank pose is prep pose for handstand. You guys see me sitting here holding plank? I practice all the time. From here, we're going to bring our knees down to our mat. Release our feet. In yoga, we do a different push-up. You learn in like high school gym push-ups, arms come wide. Yoga, our arms go straight back, so the eyes of our elbows are going to be facing forward. We shine our chest forward, elbows shoot straight back 90 degrees. I'm still looking forward, long spine. This is our half chaturanga, our yogi push-up. Inhale, push us forward into a cobra pose, opening our chest towards the ceiling. Exhale, take us back into a downward dog here. Engaging through your fingertips, still shining the eyes of the elbows forward towards the front of the room. Still has a micro bend in my knees. Breathing. But that's an example of a sun salutation. Vinyasa is a modern style of yoga that you'll see kind of being taught a lot. It's going to be our breath link movement. So a lot of vinyasa classes, you'll kind of see them moving a little quicker because they're going to want to link every breath to a movement. So for instance, if I'm in my downward dog, my inhale would take me forward. My exhale would take me down to my half chaturanga. My inhale would take me into my back bend. My exhale would take me back into my downward dog. And what that does is build heat within the body. Holding poses for 5 or 10 breaths can also be really good, but vinyasa is a very good way for like weight loss. It's really good for power classes, kind of gaining strength. I teach a lot of vinyasa classes. I train in Ashtanga, which is a little slower, but it's a little more intense holding poses for longer. So people like the music and the breath linked movements, kind of like in the trap yoga. That would be an example of a vinyasa flow.
Okay, and that's what I attended, right?
Yeah, vinyasa flow class. But yeah, so that's an example of a sun salutation. This is our downward dog.
Okay, now that is the most popular, everyone knows downward dog. What does that do for us both physically and spiritually?
Now our downward dog is going to be an inversion. An inversion is going to be any pose where your hips are higher than your heart. Now that's going to switch the blood flow, so it's really good for digestion, blood health. This is our base pose, one of our base poses in yoga. This teaches us our engagement. This is actually a prep pose for handstands, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
Downward dog is in every yoga class. You always come back to downward dog. As I always say, unless you're in a yin or a restorative class, you might not see a downward dog. Downward dog health benefits, yeah, it's going to be digestive health, it's going to be blood circulatory health, it's going to be gaining strength through your traps, through your arms, through your fingertips, all of that engagement. And it's going to just get you comfortable in a different position in an inversion. A lot of people are uncomfortable in downward dog, and it's not necessarily because it's uncomfortable, it's more so because their hips are higher than their head. And people aren't used to being upside down.
Okay.
So yoga puts us in these uncomfortable poses and forces us to breathe. Because if we can breathe with our hips over our head, we should be able to breathe sitting down for 5 minutes and be able to be at one with our thoughts. And that's what it's more about. The poses are fun, and the asanas do have a purpose, but it's to get you to a place where you're truly comfortable with your body and where you can sit with your thoughts.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I think I want to have you back so you can do some standing poses. We're going to take a break right now, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Excelente. Did you guys enjoy that? I thought it was wonderful. Thank you so much, Yassah.
Thank you for having me.
I think I'm going to have you come back next month and do some standing poses also.
We'll do some breath work.
And breath work.
Maybe I'll bring some crystals in. We can do a crystal show.
You know
what?
what?
You guys like that? We can get weird.
No, that wasn't weird at all because, like I said, you know, whatever brings you peace, you know, whatever practices you have, whatever, you know, denomination you are, as long as it brings you peace and love to yourself and to the people around you, you know, we're not going to get into this, that, and the other. That's another show. But we will have another show next week. We will have Dr. Dexter McCrae from Lake Arbor Dental. If you live in the Washington area, you've probably heard their commercials on WHUR.
Okay.
Well, Dr. Dexter McCrae is my dentist, and he's going to come on and talk about dental care and how to, you know, continue to have that beautiful smile. So, like I said, I want everybody to be healthy from the inside out, and I hope that I'm achieving that on the My Spa Bath and Body Show. We, as I said, if you want to buy any of my skincare, you can purchase it at www.myspa.etsy.com. See you next week. Same spa time, same spa channel. Bye.
Hi, guys.